Hello and welcome back to the Art Wizard YouTube channel. Today we're going to be learning how to make a wire wrap tree. The simple version. There's going to be a few of these. This is the beauty. I consider this the more simple look for wire wrap trees, and then I'll get into a little bit different ones and more complicated ones and bigger ones and stuff like that. But we're gonna start with this guy. So let's get going. Okay, so to get started, you're gonna need 4 materials. You're gonna need your copper wire, your wire cutters, your gemstones with holes, get chips with holes, and a glue gun. And glue for the glue gun. So I guess, 5 if you need extras. So first we're going to start with the copper wire. I generally like to use 26 gauge wire. I also use 28, that's what this is, and 24. 24 gauge wire is going to give you a much stiffer tree. The leaves aren't going to move, which is good in some cases. And 28 is going to give a bit more flexibility. 26 is like the sweet spot between the two, where it's not too flimsy, but it's also not extremely rigid. So first and foremost, we're gonna start by getting our copper pieces. I normally cut about 20 pieces for the simple tree, and I measure things by my body or by eye. So for me, I do a arm's length, and this gives me enough for a simple tree like the one that I showed you. If you want to do a shorter tree, you can go lower down your arm. If you want to do a taller tree, go further up your arm. But just know that you will be cutting some of it off, and you rather have extra than not have enough. So what I normally do is I measure out my forearm. So let's just adjust that a little bit. So measure out the forearm, and then I put this down, and honestly this is gonna fall off the table once I start spinning, but just know that that's on purpose. You can do this 2 different ways, right? You can cut each piece individually, measure one out, cut it, etc. But I've kind of developed a faster method that works very well for me, and maybe it'll work for you too. So you're gonna take your wire in this is my dominant hand. So take one end in the dominant hand and hook your non-dominant hand. So thumb and index finger. And what you're gonna do is you're going to hook, grab and hook, grab and hook, grab and hook, and keep that going. And the copper spool is gonna go all over the place. Sometimes it will go on the floor, and honestly that makes it easier even because it stays still a bit more. But you just keep this going until you have 20, there it goes, 20 pieces, like that. Then we're gonna take these pieces and we're gonna cut each of these loops. So take your cutters and cut through that. So now that you have all of your pieces, you're going to straighten them out. Just take your hands and run them through, and you're gonna have nice, beautiful, straight copper pieces. You're gonna take one of these pieces and decide what gemstones you're gonna use. I know this is the very exciting part. Eventually you have a whole array like I do, and it becomes like going to the candy store. So now that you have your one piece of wire, you're going to find the hole in the gemstone and thread the gemstone down to the middle of the copper wire and fold in half. You're going to take that gemstone in your dominant hand between your thumb and index finger, so it's right there, I'm holding it. You're going to separate these 2 legs and put your other thumb and index finger right next to the rock. You're gonna then take this hand and start spinning the gemstone. This twist that you're forming should be pretty loose. So you don't wanna twist it so much that it's super tight, because the copper can break. So you're really just twisting and letting your fingers slide down the copper as you go. You can also take your 2 fingers and twirl this copper. And that sometimes makes it easier, sometimes it makes it harder. It depends on your fingers and what you prefer. So then you're gonna get this nice coil. Nice, beautiful coil. And we're gonna proceed to making each one of these just like this. So I'll do a few more in real time and then I'll speed this up. But I gotta say, twisting wire is very therapeutic. You just kind of let your mind wander and use your body. And it's a pretty mindless activity that allows your mind to relax. Especially after a long day. I love making trees. It's fun for me. So same idea once again. Take one of your copper ends, thread the gemstone through to the middle, bend the copper, take the rock in your dominant hand, separate the other two ends, hold them with your fingers, and start twisting the rock, moving your hands down the wire. This one doesn't want to twirl for me, so keep twisting. Beautiful. I'm gonna keep doing this and I will speed the video up. Okay, so now that we have all of our leaves, honestly, the more you do this, the faster you're gonna get at it. The first few times, you're gonna be like, oh my God, this is gonna take forever. And then you're just gonna get faster and faster, and it's gonna be easier and easier. Also, I wanna mention, just before we get into any further, let me know what you guys think of this camera angle. I feel like it's nice. I feel like this is how I teach in workshops, which makes more sense. I did try to video behind me, like this way, and I tried above, and neither of those really worked for me as much. So you tell me if you have any, preferences or opinions. I would love to hear them. Obviously, this is my first YouTube channel. I'm not familiar with what I'm doing. So, and I feel like I just updated my lighting too, which I randomly was about to buy lights. Just gonna put myself back in camera here. I was randomly about to buy lights, and I was gonna get them on Amazon. They were gonna cost like 50 bucks or something. And somebody in my neighborhood was having a garage sale, and they happened to sell me 3 photography lights for $2. Would you look at that? So the world works with you. Yay. Okay, let's get back to it. Okay, so now that you have your leaves, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take two of these leaves, you're gonna cross them over. You're gonna make an X. And you're then going to hold where the X is and twist. So this hand, your non-dominant hand, is just like an anchor, always. All it does is it holds things in place and then it moves along the wire. Your dominant hand is the one that does all the twisting. So as your non-dominant one holds, your dominant one does the twisting. And then we have a branch. And that's the way you have to think about this tree, right? First you're building the leaves, then you're building the branches, and then you build the trunk. And then finally you build the base. Leave that there. Okay, we're gonna do one more. With these branches, the further that you make your cross, so the longer the branches are, the further out the gemstones are gonna be from your tree. So you're gonna have a very airy, like wide tree with a lot of kind of negative space towards the trunk. If you want to create something more bushy and full, you're gonna cross them closer together. So just something to keep in mind. And this really is up to you and what you prefer and what look you're going for. So again, anchor, left hand anchor, right hand twist. Keep moving the left hand down as the right continues to twist, and then you can twirl. At this point, once the wire gets a bit thicker, it's a bit easier to twirl it. So you don't have to do 2 on each branch. You can do 3. So you do the cross, start 1, twist it down, and then we can add 1 more, or 2, or 3, it's really up to you. All you do is take the new one, lay it on top, cross it over, hold the cross with your left hand and twist it in with your right. Same concept applies. The further down you add the new leaf, the more airy this branch will be. The closer together they are, the less airy, more compact. It'll look fuller. But again, it's up to preference. It's up to the look that you're going for. So one more time. I'm gonna spin the rest of these and then I will come back. Okay, so now we have a bunch of branches. Look at them, they're all so beautiful. Some are 3s, some are 2s. And now we're gonna start building the trunk. So the same concept applies throughout the building process of a tree. You're gonna cross one over the other and you're gonna twist it in. It's just a lot of twisting. Twist, 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 twist your life away. So you're gonna take 2 branches and you really just want to think about like what you want to be your topmost point of the tree, and that's going to be your starting branch. You're then going to lay the next one over it, cross right under where that first one is. So like leave a little bit of room between the last leaf spinning in on the topmost branch and where you put in the next one. And same concept, left hand is an anchor, right hand twists. So we're gonna twist that down and the left hand's gonna keep moving down the branch. I generally like to stagger these, one to the left, one to the right, one to the left, one to the right. You don't have to. It will create just a different look. It'll be more of a fantasy look. So same idea, so I have one on the left, now I'm gonna do one on the right, cross it over like that, and twist it in, and then twirl it down. Again, a looser twist is going to serve you better than a tight twist. Tight twists look cool sometimes, but they can also accidentally break, and then the whole thing is done. I mean, it doesn't have to be the whole thing, but breakage is not our friend. If you continue twisting in the same direction and you don't cross over to the other side, which again, dealer's choice, you're gonna create a really nice twist down the trunk. And that's something that I've always really liked and I try to emulate in every tree. So keep twisting it in, same direction down, but change where you're crossing each time. Two more. If you want your tree to be longer, like taller in length, you can go down further. With the amount of branches we have here though, you're gonna get a more open, lanky tree. If you want to get a fuller, longer tree, you want to add more branches. So go from 20 to maybe 40, 50, 60. I mean, these things get pretty intense. To make a big tree, you're twisting like 100, maybe even more leaves. This is just the beginner. And so then we have the base of our tree. Now all we have to do, and it's fine that it's not fluffed out right now, we're gonna leave it like that, we're gonna fluff it out later. Now we're going to make the root system. So now we have a bunch of extra wire at the bottom, and now you get to decide how tall you want your tree to be. If you want it super short, go around here. If you want it super tall, go around here. I generally like to go somewhere in the middle. I once again anchor my fingers on the wire, and with my dominant hand, I'm going to untwist the bottom parts of the wires. We're pretty much making a root base system that we're going to adhere to our base. So you're gonna start pulling these ends apart, and they start to come apart pretty easily. And you're going to make a sort of square shape out of them. So we're gonna pull them apart and separate them into 4 corners. Then we're gonna take each end and we're gonna twist it in on itself. So it's nice and tight. Twist, twist, twist. Like I said, twisting our life away. It's good for the brain though. It's like good mindless motor skill. And then at this point, we're gonna cut off our ends. So we have very long roots right now. We normally don't need roots this long. Generally, you just need them to fit over whatever base you're using. So, you know, measure that out depending on what you're doing and depending on how much root you want to show. I don't wrap these around. I use hot glue. I think the wraparound method becomes a bit too unstable and doesn't have a good enough like base to stand on. So about, you know, an inch-ish or so, we're gonna cut. Use your cutters and cut that down. And then we're gonna do it for the rest. And you can always trim this further if you need to, just don't go too short because then the base will no longer be stable. So now we have our 4 corners and the start of our tree. I'm going to make a part 2 specifically for the bases, so come on back for that video. If you're not going to part 2 and this is where you're stopping, then thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you found this helpful, and leave a comment, leave some feedback. I'm just starting out, so whatever opinions you have, just be nice, you know, don't be mean. But I will take them. Thanks for being here. See you in the next one.